All right, good morning, everybody. And I want to give a shout out to everybody who joined the Ringside Reporter Premium membership. And as promised, if you request a video, then it's going to get made for you. No questions asked. And this video is going to be made for one of our newest members, signed up, I believe, yesterday. And forgive me if I mispronounce your name, but this is a gentleman that's been a long follower of the show. And he's actually one of my friends on Facebook, and we have a lot of great conversations about the sport of boxing. His name is Charlie Wouters, and I hope I pronounced your name correctly. Charlie Wouters. And he's a great fan from the UK. So, a video that he requested was about Edwin Valero. This is the former WBA featherweight champion as well as the former WBC lightweight champion. And this was a Venezuelan boxer. And when you think about Edwin Valero, um, he's more or less a combination of three fighters, in my opinion. He reminds me of a southpaw version of Mike Tyson slash Manny Pacquiao slash Antonio Margarito. Now, this is a guy who had power in both hands. Like, he had shocking power. He was 27-0 with 27 knockouts. Okay? Had a pretty short career because of a lot of tragedies. And we're going to get into the tragedy that actually ended his career, which was very, very sad. It was very, very sad and very unfortunate. You know, the tumultuous life that Edwin Valero lived. But we cannot disregard how good of a boxer he was while he was fighting. So Edwin Valero got in a not a car accident, excuse me, got in a motorcycle accident back in 2001 before his boxing career even started. His pro career started in 2002. But because of that bike accident, he suffered a major head injury. He actually fractured his skull. And he had a hard time getting licensed to box in the United States. Now, he said that a doctor cleared him, but when he would get examinations and they would, I think they did a lot of MRIs and CAT scans on his skull. There was concern, and for a long time he wasn't allowed to box in the United States. So he fought a lot of his fights, you know, in Central America mostly, like in Colombia and a lot of those types of countries. So then he finally was able to get licensed in the United States, and I believe it was after his 12th pro fight, and that's when he signed with Golden Boy. And he was able to win a featherweight title back in 2006 against Vicente Mascara, and he had that title all the way up until 2009. And then he decided to move up to lightweight, and he won the WBC lightweight title against Antonio Pitalua, who was a pretty decent fighter at the time. And he ended up defending that lightweight title, the most recognizable name on his record, against Antonio DeMarco, who was undefeated at the time. And I remember going into that fight, I actually picked Antonio DeMarco because I thought that his height and reach and his boxing ability from the outside and his great jab would be able to give Valero problems. I thought Valero would have a hard time getting inside, but in that fight, he just dominated Antonio DeMarco, and yeah, he just dominated him, walked him down. It was almost like it reminded me a lot of the second half of the Antonio Margarito Miguel Cotto fight, where Margarito just imposed his will on Cotto in the second half of that fight. And this is more or less what Antonio DeMarco did right from the jump. I think in not Antonio DeMarco. I mean Edwin Valero. So Edwin Valero, I think lost. I think when I was watching the fight, if I remember correctly, I think Antonio DeMarco won the first round. But after that, Edwin Valero just dominated. He just walked him down. And Edwin Valero was a guy who just was able to really apply pressure, but he fought out of a crouch, and he was very awkward. Like sometimes he would keep his hands down, and other times he put his hands up. He almost dared you to come at him. He was also a great counterpuncher as well. So when you have a guy that can hit that hard, that is just as dangerous moving forward as he is moving backward. Like he would be able to take that half step back, and he would like crack you with that straight left that he had. It was a vicious left, straight left he had, and he also had a vicious right hook. So this was a guy that could hurt you moving forward and moving backward, which was a lot different than Mike Tyson and Manny Pacquiao. Those guys weren't great moving backward, and neither was Antonio Margarito. But when I compare him to those guys, the thing about him that reminds me of Manny Pacquiao is his volume. He just threw a ton of punches, and he really put his shots together well. And Mike Tyson, he would get low, and he would bob and weave at times too, and he was just ferocious on the inside, particularly with the body shots, and that's what did a lot of damage to Antonio DeMarco, where he would get inside and he really wore him down to the body, and he just broke him down, and Antonio DeMarco just retired on his stool, at the end of the seventh round. He couldn't continue, or I believe it was at the end of the sixth round because it was a seventh round TKO or retired on his stool. So he just really was a very aggressive fighter, underrated boxer, and he was multifaceted. He wasn't just a slugger. He wasn't just a brawler. He wasn't just a swarmer. He actually had a good jab. He could set his shots up well, and he knew how to work his way inside, and he knew how to wear his opponents down. And also, he knew how to set traps, and he knew how to walk guys into his left hand. So he was, like I said, he was a decent counterpuncher. So the big question is, how would he have done today? Now, let's talk about some of the tragedies of Edwin Valero. We already talked about the bike accident where he had a severe head injury back in 2001. And we already talked about how he had a hard time getting signed to a big time promoter because he couldn't get licensed to fight in the United States. And when he finally did, Golden Boy picked him up. And the guy had a very, very promising career. I mean, 27 victories, 27 knockouts. I mean, the guy was just dominant. He was just dominant. And everyone was high on him at that time. And then after that Antonio DeMarco fight, which was on paper listed as a 50-50 fight, I remember talking about that fight and breaking that fight down when I was on the Rope Dope Radio podcast. And I think we were split on who was going to win that fight. I think most of the panelists, I believe I picked Antonio DeMarco, and I can't remember what D-Style picked. I'm not sure what he picked. I want to say he picked Antonio DeMarco too, but I could be wrong. And I think Chris Carlson, I have to go back and ask these guys, but I remember it was kind of split 50-50 down the middle because it was me, Chris Carlson, D-Style, and Ashley Knuckles, aka Joshua Jernigan, and I think it was like 2-2, so it was like a 50-50 fight even on our panel. So that was a great victory for him. That was his greatest victory. And after that fight, like people were like, "Wow, this guy is going to be a force." But let's get back to the tragedies. So in 2009 and 2010, he had two horrible incidences where he assaulted his wife, and in one of those incidents, she had to go to the hospital, and she suffered from a collapsed lung. And he was actually at the hospital, and he was just very unruly. He was freaking out, and the people at the hospital thought there was something wrong with him. And even after that, he had to get psychiatric care because there was suspicion that he had some mental health issues. And again, we have to look at the bike accident, and we have to ask ourselves, did that bike accident damage his brain? Did it cause any CTE issues? because it reminds me similar to a similar situation with Chris Benoit. When Chris Benoit, it was discovered that he was having issues with CTE too, because he used to jump off the top rope a lot in wrestling. The wrestler Chris Benoit, and he would like do flying headbutts to people, and it was thought that maybe that may have damaged Chris Benoit's brain as well. And again, do these things have an effect on someone's behavior? Now, obviously, it's inexcusable to commit a heinous act like murder, especially killing your loved ones. I mean, that's horrible what Chris Benoit did, and that's horrible what Edwin Valero did. But we have to take into consideration, did these guys have brain damage? Were they psychologically impaired, and then that contribute to what they did? And great point, Cian. I was just going to bring him up to Aaron Hernandez, another CTE guy. So we have to take that into consideration. And if these guys were given therapy early on, when the warning signs started to arise, if people around them kind of spoke to them about it, would things have been different? Who knows? But let's get back to Edwin Valero's tragedies. So 2009, 2010, two bad incidences, with his wife. And then later in that year, in 2010, he actually killed his wife. He stabbed her 3 times and he threw her down a flight of stairs, which was horrible. Which was a horrible, horrible thing to do, obviously. Okay? It was horrible. And you have to ask yourself, was something, like I said, was something wrong with this guy? Was he just off the wall? I'm sure that there had to be some type of brain issues going on, and I'm sure that bike accident, because he was riding a motorcycle, okay, and he didn't even have a helmet on, and he hit the sidewalk, head first. Oh, what a freaking horrible injury that must have been. So to think that he didn't have some type of brain damage after that, and then on top of that, going in the ring and boxing and getting hit in the head again, to think that didn't cause any brain issues, I don't know. I mean, I'm not a doctor, but I would think there would be some type of residual effect. And again, the medical field is very advanced, but even still, it's really hard to diagnose brain injuries. I mean, you could see what's going on. You could see what's going on the outside of the brain when you do the CAT scans and stuff like that, and you do the MRIs. You could see if there's like hemorrhaging, and you could see if there's swelling, and you could see if there's bruising on the outer part of the brain. But in order to see any psychological issues or neurological issues, I would think that they say that you have to do an autopsy and actually cut the brain open to diagnose those things. And obviously, when someone's alive, you're not going to be able to do that. So there had to be a lot of things going on with Edwin Valero, but nevertheless, he did those things, and ultimately he got arrested for them, and then when he was in jail in his cell, he ended up hanging himself and killing himself, which was a tragedy too. So it was just a very, very horrible situation, the way Edwin Valero's life played out. But the amazing thing was, amidst all that, he turned out to be an outstanding boxer. And his career, he was 28 years old. So he was, in my opinion, just about entering his prime and getting ready to peak. And he just had one of the greatest victories of his career. Things were going so good for him, but who knows what's going on in somebody's head. You could look at somebody, like look at all these athletes that we see, that we say to ourselves, these guys got the world at their feet. They got everything, but they're not happy. Entertainers have everything, but they're not happy. For whatever reason, people can suffer from mental health issues. People can get depressed. They could have a traumatic incident that happened in their life, whether it be physical or mental. And sometimes when something happens to you, there's a residual effect as a result of the incident, and you carry that for the rest of your life. You know, and everyone's got their baggage, everyone's got their demons. I know I got mine. You know, I've lost loved ones, and had a bad effect on me. You know, it put me into a real bad state of depression, and I had to reach out and get help. You know, so we all have our demons, we all have our problems, and sometimes if a person isn't going to reach out for help himself, if people who are close to him, if you have a friend and you just see that, you know, something's not right with that person, try to talk to him. Try to talk to him. You know, see what you can do. You know, try to help people. I don't think there's enough of that in the world today. People tend to dump on people when they see them have problems. You know, no one tries to reach out and actually see what's going on. What's the root cause of that problem? Is there something going on with that person? Is there something that can be done to help that person? Because you have a lot of hanger-ons in this sport with fighters, and no one's, you know, brave enough or strong enough or has the guts enough to stand up to the fighter and say, hey man, you can't be doing this. This ain't the right thing to be doing. You're going down the wrong path. You know, and Adrian Broner is a prime example of that. I mean, we bust Adrian Broner's chops a lot, and we criticize him a lot on the show. But you have to really ask yourself, is there something wrong with Adrian Broner psychologically? Is he going through something psychologically, or does he have any type of mental health issues? You have to ask that question, because this is a guy that has said that, you know, he wants to kill himself before. You know, people make light of that, but for someone to come out and say that publicly and post it on a social media, that's a red flag. So, you know, it is what it is. But let's get back to Edwin Valero. Let's try to bring this bring this video into a happy place after all that depressive stuff. So Edwin Valero had that tumultuous life, and ultimately it got the better of him, and he killed himself. But what would have happened if Edwin Valero was able to overcome those psychological issues? Because even with those psychological issues, just like Tyson Fury, who has his demons, who has his psychological issues to this day, but he still is a great fighter, and he's able to kind of rise above that. You know, he said himself, I'm going to be depressed the rest of my life. This is something I'm going to have to deal with. Just like an alcoholic will always be an alcoholic, just like a drug addict will always be a drug addict. But you have to battle and try to control and contain the problem. So what if Edwin Valero was able to not conquer the demons, but contain the demons, so to speak? Keep them in check. How good would he have been? Because even with those demons eating away at him, he was still a great fighter. And you have to say to yourself, eventually he probably would have moved up to 140 and 147. He was about 5'6". He was like Manny Pacquiao's, almost identical to Manny Pacquiao's size. And Manny Pacquiao went all the way up to 154. I'm not saying Valero would have went all the way up to 154, but it's quite conceivable that he could have moved up to 147. But even let's look at some potential matchups with Edwin Valero against guys like Floyd Mayweather, Jose Luis Castillo, Chico Corrales, Oscar De La Hoya, Rafael Ruelas. You know, all these guys who fought at 135. Manny Pacquiao. How would he have fared against these guys? Because you have to look at his style. And one question mark is, he never went the distance. And if I'm not mistaken, I think, let me just check and see the longest fight on his record, how many, the longest amount of rounds he did on his record. Actually, I correct myself. He stopped Antonio Margarito. No, excuse me, Antonio DeMarco in round 9. I said 7. So Antonio DeMarco retired on his stool after round 9. Okay. So I think that was the longest No, actually, he TKO'd Vicente Mascaro in the 10th round. So the longest he's ever been in the ring was 10 rounds. Now, could he have gone the extra two? Probably. 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 So his longest fight was 10 rounds, and his second longest fight was against Antonio DeMarco. So those were the two best names on his record, basically. Mascaro, because Mascaro was great. He had a lot of losses, but he was a grinder, and that was a good victory. So there could be a question mark. Could he do the full 12? He never did before. Sort of like the question mark was over Deontay Wilder's head. Could he have done the full 12? Until he did it with Bermain Stavern. I think that if pushed to the limit, I think that Valero could have done the full 12 because when you watch him fight, he fought at a pretty steady pace. He never really looked like he was slowing down. He didn't look like he had any fatigue problems in there. So if need be, I think he could have went the full 12. He had. This is a testament to how great a shape he's in because he was able to carry his power into the ninth round and the 10th round in his two biggest fights, and he still was able to stop his opponent. So that's a testament to his conditioning, and not only his conditioning but his overall determination in the ring. So he was a real well conditioned, strong athlete from the beginning of the fight to the end of the fight. So I think he would be able to carry his power late, which evidently shows in his record. How would he have done against a guy like Manny Pacquiao? Well, here's the thing. As I said, Manny Pacquiao was a swarmer. He was a great fighter in his own right. Everyone knows how great Manny Pacquiao is. But the problem with Manny Pacquiao, I think, would be his ability to fight on the back foot. And Valero could suck fighters into traps. He was not a bad counterpuncher. He was a very underrated counterpuncher. So I could see him catching Manny Pacquiao on the way in. And Manny Pacquiao was a big puncher with the left hand, but he wasn't a huge puncher with the right. He had a decent right hook that he developed over the years. But I think Edwin Valero's versatility, as I said, the ability to be dangerous moving forward and moving backward, I think that would give Manny Pacquiao problems. And I'm not going to sit there and say that definitively I believe Edwin Valero would beat Manny Pacquiao, but I would not be surprised if he did. I would not be surprised if he did. Let's look at Edwin Valero versus Oscar De La Hoya. Oscar De La Hoya had real trouble with southpaws, which Edwin Valero is. We saw how he struggled against Pernell Whitaker badly, and we saw how he struggled against Pacquiao. He couldn't get away from the left hand. And as I said, Edwin Valero being able to be dangerous as well as moving forward and backward, being an underrated counterpuncher, particularly with that left hand. I think that Edwin Valero could probably wear down and stop Oscar De La Hoya pretty much in a similar fashion that Manny Pacquiao did. I know the argument's going to be made, well, that wasn't a prime De La Hoya. And ironically enough, Edwin Valero was brought in as a sparring partner for Oscar De La Hoya, particularly for that Manny Pacquiao fight. And you could see, like, if you watched the 24/7 leading up to that fight between Oscar De La Hoya and Manny Pacquiao, Oscar De La Hoya had a big black swollen eye. And guess who gave him that eye? Gave him that swollen eye? It was Edwin Valero. And it was rumored that after that, Edwin Valero was sent home and his services were no longer needed for that camp. So let's take a look at Edwin Valero versus Jose Luis Castillo. Now, Castillo, again, real pressure fighter, good inside fighter, underrated jab. His jab was good. It was really accurate, and he moved it around. He was versatile with it. He used it to open up shots. He used it to open up his power shots. He used it very strategically, and he used it to be, in order to keep his opponent occupied and having to react to it. And he was able to get inside behind it because he had quick feet. And once he got inside, he was a hellacious body puncher. But Edwin Valero could scrap a little bit on the inside too. He wasn't a bad body puncher. Okay, he wasn't a bad body puncher. And Edwin Valero, I think, was a much harder puncher than Castillo. Okay, he was a much harder puncher than Castillo, and I think he was much quicker. I think he was more explosive. So Castillo had a great chin, but again, I could see Valero outworking and overwhelming Castillo, and I think I would pick Valero over Castillo. I think he could score a stoppage, wear him down late, and get a ninth or 10th round stoppage against Castillo. Well, let's look at Corrales. Oh, here's another name I forgot to mention. We got to throw Pernell Whitaker in there. We got to throw Pernell Whitaker in there. I forgot to mention him at the beginning. He's going to be one of the opponents. So let's look at Valero versus Corrales. Now here's the problem with Corrales. Corrales was a big puncher. He was a big puncher, no question about it. He had power. He had a pretty decent jab, but Corrales had some defensive liabilities. A lot of times he'd stand straight up, expose his chin. He would load up with shots and overextend and leave himself out there. And we saw Floyd Mayweather, a guy who was quicker and was just a really fluid combination puncher at the time. Really put his shots together well, very accurate with his shots. We saw how he just picked Corrales apart because of his hand speed and because of his fluid combination punching and because of his pinpoint accuracy. And we saw how Corrales would try to be aggressive against Floyd, and his hands were just not fast enough. Like Floyd could time everything, and he was able to counter everything that Corrales threw in that fight. So how would that style of Corrales fare against Valero? Well, Valero, again, very quick, very fast hands, very explosive, real good volume puncher. I think Valero would stop Corrales. I think he'd wear him down and get him out of there. I think Corrales would make that one big mistake, and I think Valero would make him pay for it, and that would be the end of Corrales. That would be the end of Corrales. Okay. Here comes Pernell Whitaker. How would Valero fare against Pernell Whitaker? Full disclosure, Pernell Whitaker is like one of my favorite fighters of all time. I think it's like Sugar Ray Leonard, Tyson Fury, and then Pernell Whitaker and Andre Ward are like tied for third. So I love Andre Ward too. Pernell Whitaker was just so elusive. It was very hard to hit him flush with the power shot. And if you did hit him, a lot of times he would roll it. And if you hit him one time, it would be hard to get two or three off on him. Now, I thought that Pernell Whitaker beat Oscar De La Hoya. Okay, I thought he beat him, but I thought that it was a questionable decision. I'm not going to say it was a robbery, but it was a questionable decision. I scored it. I scored it for Whitaker. Whitaker wasn't a huge puncher, but he could get your attention. And he was just so good at landing that perfect shot, that flush shot. Could Pernell Whitaker hurt Edwin Valero? He could stun him. He could catch him with a shot. Like Pernell Whitaker was beautiful at hitting you with shots that you didn't see if you were his opponent, and hit you with shots that you weren't ready for. So this would be a very, very interesting fight. I think Pernell Whitaker had the ability to frustrate fighters and kind of get them out of their game plan. This would be a fight where I think both guys would have to grind it out. This would be a fight like Julio Cesar Chavez versus Pernell Whitaker. But the one caveat here is, again, this is going to be a bold statement, but you could argue that maybe Edwin Valero was faster than Chavez. And also, this Edwin Valero is a southpaw. So this would be a very, very tough fight for Whitaker as well as Valero. This would be one of those nip and tuck type fights because, again, I think Valero would be trying to, land his power shots, but I just don't. I'm not sure if he'd be able to hit Whitaker clean because Whitaker has that herky jerk style. He'd get real low. Sometimes he would get so low that his head was even below your waist, and you couldn't even hit him to the body at that point. And Whitaker was very disciplined in there. He stuck to his game plan. He never made a lot of mistakes, and he would do what he had to do to win a fight. He didn't care if he had to stink the joint out to do it. He would do it. So with all that being said, I think Whitaker would probably frustrate Valero, take him out of his game plan, and I think Valero would maybe get a little over anxious at times because Whitaker just had that way of getting in your head and really frustrating you. And Valero was that type of guy where he was a real wound up type guy. I could see him unraveling in a fight against Whitaker because of his just the way he's built mentally and psychologically. So I think Whitaker would win a hard fought 12-round decision, maybe 7-5, 8-4 in that fight. Oh, thank you, Alexander Wilson. Thank you. Crawford versus Valero. That would be a great one. That would be a great one. I'm gonna break that one down. Let's do that one now. And Floyd Mayweather will be the finale. Floyd Mayweather will be the finale. Crawford will be we'll do Valero versus Crawford right now. Crawford's a guy who he's stubborn. We all know how great Crawford is, but sometimes he's stubborn. And he has that mean streak in him where he just likes to fight it out. As good as a boxer as he is, like Crawford when he fought Breedis Prescott, he fought I think comprehensively, I think that was his best fight in terms of just discipline and game plan. He just boxed the shit out of Breedis Prescott. But a lot of times in fights with Crawford likes to fight. He likes to get aggressive. He likes to slug it out with people, and he's kind of a slow starter. We saw how how he was against Gamboa, and even in his last fight against Kavaluskas, that was very competitive. It wasn't a hugely competitive fight, but it was competitive, really competitive in spots. And I thought Kavaluskas did knock Crawford down. So against Valero, I think Crawford would get the sense that I'm the bigger guy. Maybe I can bully this guy. I'm not going to run from this guy. And I think Crawford would try to slug it out with Valero. I think Crawford would try to slug it out with Valero. And I think he would underestimate Valero's power. And I think Valero would hurt him early in the fight. Now, because Crawford sometimes is stubborn and it takes him a while to switch gears, because we'll see him give away a lot of rounds the first half of the fight because he's so stubborn. Because he has a lot of pride and sometimes he wants to outfight guys. So I could see him going into this fight saying, you know what, this guy's is supposed to be the big bad guy, the strong guy, the power guy that everyone's afraid of, the knockout puncher. Let's see if he can outfight me. I could see him doing that in the first half of the fight. And I could see him paying the price for that. Now, the question is, will it be too late for him to switch gears? Because Crawford, you can argue, is faster than Valero. I think Valero would hit harder. Crawford could switch to southpaw, but would that make sense for him to do that against another southpaw guy? And that's another thing. Crawford sometimes, I think, fights in the southpaw stance at certain times, and I think in that stance he gets hit a lot. He's great offensively out of that stance, but defensively, that's when he's the most vulnerable. So I see Crawford trying a lot of things in there, like being stubborn. The Crawford that fought Prescott, that would be a very tough fight for Valero. But the Crawford that fought Gamboa and fought Kavaluskas, I think Valero would have a shot. And even against Benavidez, I thought Benavidez had had some good moments in that fight against Crawford. This is taking nothing away from Crawford, but Crawford just has that mentality that he likes to fight, and he's stubborn. And sometimes when something's not working, he can switch gears, no question. He can adapt. He can make adjustments. But sometimes he makes those adjustments too late, and he makes the fight more difficult than it has to be. Because you look at him and you say, like, when he does switch gears, you say to yourself, well, why didn't he just do this earlier? So if he doesn't switch gears early enough against the Valero, because I think that Crawford moves very well. I think he can box very well from the inside, outside, even in the mid range. I think he can do it all. But the question is knowing when to do it and doing it at the right times. Because there's been incidences in fights where I said it takes him a while to figure it out. And he ends up losing rounds and getting hit. And, against a guy like Valero, who in my opinion would be the hardest puncher that Crawford would ever be in there against, could Valero make him pay? Could Valero land the shot that Gamboa landed, and instead of Crawford being able to walk through it, would that be a game changer for Valero? Would that be a fight-changing punch for Valero? I'm going to be honest with you. If this fight takes place at 135, I'm going to edge it to Valero. I think Valero may be able to squeak out a decision against Crawford. Crawford is a big, strong guy. The way I see this fight going, I think that Crawford will try to come out, and I bet you probably will come out in the southpaw stance and try to slug it out and try to fight toe-to-toe with Valero for the first 6 rounds. And I think after 6 rounds, I think Crawford may be down 4-2 or even 5-1. And then maybe in the 7th or 8th round, that's when he decides to switch gears. But at that point, he's already in a hole, and Crawford may try to box from the outside. But at that point in time, Valero will have the momentum, and I'm not so sure that Crawford would be able to keep a hard charging Valero on the outside for the whole second half of the fight. It's hard for me to believe that he could shut him out for the second half of the fight. So I think that Valero would outwork and maybe land some big shots against Crawford that will wobble him, maybe knock him down. And I think that Valero would win a decision against Crawford, in my opinion, because of the way Crawford fights. And we saw Crawford in his last fight. He looked human. I mean, I don't want to say that means that Crawford is overly vulnerable, because Spence, fought Mikey Garcia, he fought Sean Porter, and Sean Porter is a very good fighter. But I thought that Spence was going to destroy Sean Porter. So, you could argue that there's chinks in both guys' armors, Errol Spence and Crawford, because I know that's a big fight that people are talking about. But I think that I could see Crawford getting lulled into a slugfest and being on the wrong side of it against Valero. So I'm gonna go with Valero by decision. Okay, he says, what happens when Crawford switches stances and Crawford was a big lightweight? He came into fight weighing 153. That would have been a dream fight. Would have been a dream fight, but again, Valero was smaller against DeMarco. He's smaller against other opponents. Valero wasn't a big guy, but he was a very, very explosive, powerful guy, and he could hurt the bigger guys. And like I said before, when Crawford does switch to southpaw, I think he's more vulnerable defensively. That's when you watch him switch to southpaw, he gets hit a lot more than he does in the orthodox stance. So that. I think if you're a southpaw fighter fighting a southpaw, I think switching to southpaw. Excuse me, if you're a guy that is ambidextrous, that could fight southpaw as well as orthodox, and you decide to fight southpaw against a southpaw, then that I think that's a bad strategy. Why would you not fight orthodox and have that advantage of being able to land the lead right hand? Why would you take that advantage away? In my opinion, it's just like when Marvin Hagler was a southpaw fighting Sugar Ray Leonard, who was orthodox. but then he decides to come out and fight orthodox. He gave away his southpaw advantage. So then, I think giving a guy a different look, I think a southpaw fighter has an advantage over an orthodox fighter, more so in certain regards, that he could force the guy to walk into the straight left. But also, you could the flip side of that is, the southpaw is going to be vulnerable to the right hand. And Crawford, I think, is a stronger fighter in the orthodox stance. I think he brings more power in the orthodox stance, and I think he's just better defensively. He just looks more solid in the orthodox stance than he does against the southpaw stance. So the only advantage to switching southpaw would be if he was fighting an orthodox fighter, just to give the guy a different look, you know. But then you could argue as well that southpaws are used to fighting orthodox fighters, because southpaws rarely fight other southpaws. So then you could say to yourself, well, if Crawford fought Valero southpaw, that would be a look that he's not used to seeing. But once again, I think that Crawford is more powerful in the orthodox stance, and he's a little bit tighter defensively in the orthodox stance. So I think he would do better in the orthodox stance against Valero. Okay, that's a good question, Alexander Wilson, and thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate that. Okay, CN, Crawford seems to be very stubborn when he switches southpaw, and it's not working so good. He will deliberately stay southpaw to prove he can still win, than rather switching back. Yeah, that's basically what I'm saying. I mean, he has that in his head where he wants to prove to himself that he could do something. Sort of like Marvin Hagler. He's trying to prove to Leonard that, I can outbox you in the orthodox stance. I don't have to, be my normal southpaw power swarmer type aggressive guy. And that's sometimes when boxers get hard-headed like that, then, that could be their undoing. That could be their downfall. So here's the grand finale. Edwin Valero versus Floyd Mayweather Jr. Wow. Floyd's been in there with big punchers before. He's been in there with Cotto. He's been in there with Shane Mosley. He's been in there with Manny Pacquiao, another big puncher. And he's been in there with Castillo, Corrales, Ricky Hatton. He's been in there with a lot of different styles. Now, has he been in there with a guy like Valero, the guy who's a southpaw? We saw how Floyd had a little bit of issues with Zab Judah. Crawford has a 5-inch reach over Valero. Could Valero overcome that? Also, Marquez would be a great matchup for Crawford and Valero. Yeah, I gotta throw Marquez in there. I forgot. Let's do Marquez now, and then Floyd will be the grand finale. I forgot about Marquez. Thank you so much, Alexander Wilson. So yeah, Edwin Valero versus Marquez. Marquez is just an all-around phenomenal fighter. He's known as a counter puncher, but we've seen him be aggressive against fighters like Timothy Bradley. And Bradley was confused because he thought Marquez was going to be that counter puncher. And he came out aggressively. And we saw Marquez be aggressive against Juan Diaz. We see Marquez do what he has to do against the fighter he's fighting. So he's shown to be versatile in the fact that this is a guy that can switch up styles. And he could be very, very tricky in there. We saw how when he fought Pacquiao, a guy who's faster than him, a guy who has more athletic gifts than him, he relied on his timing. Okay? And we saw against Tim Bradley, a guy who didn't have the volume that Pacquiao didn't have the punching power that Pacquiao did. We saw how Marquez decided to take it to him. And although I had Bradley winning that fight, Marquez kind of confused Bradley when he switched it up a little bit. So, in my opinion, this would be a chess match, Marquez versus Valero. And we saw how Marquez had some tough fights against Pacquiao. Okay, and the thing about Marquez too is he may land that one clean shot, but his opponent may land two or three to his one sometimes. So see Marquez be outworked in fights before. You know, we've seen him. I thought Bradley kind of outworked him a little bit, outboxed him. Um, Marquez doesn't have the fastest feet in the world, but he's got pretty decent hand speed. You could argue that just like in the Pacquiao fight, like Valero would be the more athletically gifted guy. Um, and just like in the Pacquiao fight, you know, you could argue that Valero may have the harder punch, although Marquez is not a powder puff puncher. This would be a very, very close fight, in my opinion, that can go either way. I could see Marquez laying back, trying to suck Valero into traps, and maybe Valero would come forward. And because Valero is such a compact target, because Valero has a way of really being unorthodox in there, he could come in and really, he had good head and upper body movement, Valero. Unlike Pacquiao, Pacquiao would move his whole body like this. Valero would kind of dip and duck a little bit. He was more subtle in his movement, whereas Pacquiao was more pronounced, you know. And I think Valero, because he has power in both hands, and Pacquiao only had power in one, in my opinion. I don't think he was a big right hooker. I think this would be a very tough fight for Marquez because I'm not so sure that Valero would fall for Marquez's traps, you know. And I think Valero was better than Manny Pacquiao on the inside. I think he made a commitment to throwing body shots. He knew how to make himself a compact target. He moved his head better, I think, than Manny Pacquiao. This would be a tough fight. This is a fight, honestly, that could go either way. But I think Valero at his best and Marquez at his best at 135. This fight's going to be at 135. I think Valero could outwork Marquez. I'm not going to say he would stop him because Marquez is very durable, but I think Valero could get inside, work the body. I think Valero could hurt Marquez with either hand, and I think he would put Marquez on the defensive a lot in this fight. And like I said, this could go either way. But I'm gonna say Valero at his best and Marquez at his best. I'm gonna say that Valero may be able to eke out a decision against Marquez because I think he'll land like more of the eye catching shots, and he'll land more of a volume of shots. That's not to say that Valero wouldn't catch some stuff, coming in, but I don't think that Marquez would be able to hit him as often as he would like in this fight. And for that reason, I think this would be a game of numbers. And I think at the end of the day, I think the judges would give rounds to Valero because I think he'd be more aggressive. I think he'd have Marquez on the back foot. And I think that he would be landing more shots. And I think he would be more like he would be considered the more effective, aggressive fighter in this matchup. So that's why I think Valero may be able to eke out a decision against Marquez at lightweight. Okay. This is the grand finale. Edwin Valero versus Floyd Money Mayweather. Arguably, Floyd is the best fighter of this generation or of his generation. You may have some detractors, but there's enough people who do believe that Floyd was the best fighter in his era. I don't think you'll have a huge argument about that. You may have a few. What can you say about Floyd? Early in his career, Floyd was more aggressive. He threw a lot more punches. He went for the knockout. Floyd didn't really have hand problems until, in my opinion, till he moved up to 140. So this would, at 135, you could argue that this was the best Floyd. Or even most people think 130 was the best Floyd, but you can argue that 135 was a pretty dominant Floyd too. When Floyd moved up to 147, that's when things started to change. But this at 135, Floyd was very, very close to his ultimate best. You can argue. Some will say 130, 135 could still be that weight too as well, in my opinion. CN makes a very great point in this chat here. He says Valero would have no respect for Floyd's boxing and walk him down similar to Castillo and Maidana. Yeah. Again, that's a phenomenal point because I was thinking the same thing. But at 135, Floyd had some pop. But even in the second Castillo fight, I still think Castillo was durable enough to handle Floyd's power. Problem with in this fight for Floyd would be Valero in the southpaw stance. I think Floyd would have problems. I mean, because Floyd wouldn't be able to do the shoulder roll, okay, against Valero. And when he fights southpaws, he tends to kind of keep his hands up high like this. And the big question mark here is, would Floyd be able to contain Valero if Valero got close to him? Would he be able to hold him and contain him? Because Floyd is a lot more physically strong than people give him credit for. And Floyd had a way of just doing enough to win rounds. So he could stay, he almost like ran the four-corner offense on you when he had to. And this would be a fight, in my opinion, that Floyd would definitely try to run the four-corner offense in. And he would try to probably steal the rounds with a flurry at the end. So this is a big part of this fight would be who the judges are. Because if Harold Letterman was scoring this fight, then he would probably score for Valero, just like he scored all the Pacquiao fights against Marquez for Pacquiao. Because Valero would definitely be the guy moving forward in this fight. There's no question about it. And Mayweather would be forced back a lot in this fight. But Mayweather would still land some sneaky counters in this fight. He would still land his right hand lead was a great weapon, and he was able to land that a lot. And he was surgical with that right hand. And he, to this day, up until his last fight, he had a beautiful counter right hand. No one could take that away from him. His jab to the body. Now, Valero's a short guy. He gets low, likes to dip under shots. But it's going to be hard to dip under a jab to the body. And that was a great weapon for Floyd. He could jab Valero to the body, land that shot, and stop the forward momentum, knock him off balance a little bit, disrupt the rhythm. So that would be a factor. But eventually, I think Valero would get inside just like Castillo got inside. And just like Maidana got inside. I think a big problem for Floyd in this fight would be Valero's right hook. Because Valero had a great jab, but he also was, one great thing that Valero did was hook off that jab. And Floyd likes to parry shots and come over the top with him, right? So you could see Floyd patting down the jab. But Valero had an ability to reset real quick. So he could pat down the jab, and then after he pats down the jab, you could see Valero come back with a hook. Valero was great at that, hooking off that jab. So he may allow Floyd to tap that jab, and as soon as that right hand makes contact with Floyd Mayweather's hand, as soon as he taps it, immediately he'll just hook around it. And that would be a problem. That would be a problem for Floyd. That would be definitely a problem for Floyd. I could see him tapping down that hand, that right hand with his left hand, and as soon as that right hand makes contact, I could see Valero trying to crank up that hook around the guard. Sort of like how Mosley, when he looped that right hand around the guard, because when Floyd went put up his hands like up close to his face like this, he got hit on the top of the head. And so Maidana also landed shots like on the side top of the head against Floyd. So that could be a punch that Floyd would be vulnerable to. And I thought Floyd lost the first Castillo fight. And I think a lot of people did. Okay. But he had a bad shoulder in that fight. We don't want to make excuses, but we saw that in the second fight, he was able to figure out Castillo. But this is a guy in Valero who could punch very well. He could throw a jab very well. He was versatile with the offense. Had power in both hands. He could fight on the inside. He knew how to jab to get himself in range. He's a great mid-range fighter and an adequate outside fighter. And as I said, he's a guy that could counterpunch as well as move forward and be dangerous. So how would Floyd figure out this puzzle? Because again, we saw how he struggled against Maidana. We saw how he struggled against Castillo. And you have to say to yourself, Valero could do a lot of similar things in terms of his effective aggressiveness and apply pressure just as well as those guys. But he could do it in a different way, a more difficult way, so to speak. He would. Maidana was a big right hand guy. He'd come at you with the right hand. Castillo was a big left hook guy. He had a decent right hand, but those guys more or less were power with one side. Valero's power with both sides. He had rocks in both hands. So Floyd could kind of gamble on Maidana's left hand, but Maidana had a phenomenal jab. Very underrated jab. But again, the right hand was the big money punch. The same thing for Castillo. Decent right hand, but that left hook was his money punch. Valero has too many punches. He's got two guns in the holster. So that would be a problem for Floyd. The big thing here is Floyd's ability to make adjustments, Floyd's ability to run the clock in rounds and steal him at the end. And Floyd is the type of guy where he doesn't care how he wins, he just wants to win. So I could see Floyd trying to stink out the joint and stealing rounds, but in the same token, I could see Valero pushing Floyd back, making it look like he's the guy who's retreating. This could be a carbon copy in some respects to the Castillo fight and have some similarities as well as the Maidana fight. But Floyd got the benefit of the doubt in both fights. So you can argue he may get the benefit of the doubt in this fight. This is a fight that would be very close, very competitive. Floyd's got a great chin. We've seen him rocked many times. You can argue that Mosley and Pacquiao, Cotto, all big knockout punchers. Floyd was able to stand up to those guys, but you could argue that those guys predominantly had power from one side. This guy has power from both sides. This is a tough one, man. At 135, Valero would definitely have a shot, no question about it. I'm going to go with Floyd. Excuse me about that. I should have put this on airplane mode. Sorry about that, guys. I'm going to go with Floyd. That fucked me up, man, right when I was about to announce the winner. I'm going to go with Floyd by split decision in this fight. Yeah, I'm going to go with Floyd by split decision in this fight. So let's kind of tally it up. I think we gave Valero every victory except for Floyd. I know people can say, "Oh, Beeb, you're a freaking Floyd nut hugger," whatever. Let's go down the list. Let's see what we had here. Let's. I'm gonna write all the names down. Okay, we had him versus Marquez, De La Hoya. We had him against Castillo. We had him against Corrales, Pacquiao, Mayweather. Whitaker. So you had 1, 2, 3, Pacquiao, Mayweather, Whitaker, and we had him against Crawford. And we had him beating Marquez, De La Hoya, Castillo, Corrales. We had him beating Pacquiao, and we had him beating Crawford. We had him losing to Mayweather. Do we have? Remind me, guys. I can't remember. I think I said that the Whitaker fight could have gone either way. Who did we have in that fight? I think we had Whitaker beating him too, if I'm not mistaken. Do you guys remember? Did I have Whitaker beating him? I actually forget if I had Whitaker beating him. I think I had Whitaker beating him too. I think I had Whitaker beating him too. So against the greats in our era, Edwin Valero went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6-2. Ricky Hatton really wasn't a lightweight. He was a 140, 147 guy. So we can't really bring him into the mix. So if I remember correctly, I had him beating Whitaker too. But that was a fight that I said could have gone either way. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So he was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6-2. He was 6-2 against the greats. We could do him against Hatton. We could do him against who else? Yeah, we had Whitaker beating him. Yeah, we did. That's right. I couldn't remember because I did so many. We did so many breakdowns. Like I couldn't remember if I had. But I knew that was a close fight, him and Whitaker. So even in the fights that he lost, you could argue that they could have gone. They were 50-50 fights on paper. Could have gone either way. So Whitaker and Mayweather beat him. Oh shit! Valero versus Morales. And then we have Valero versus Marco Antonio Barrera. I think Valero would beat Morales. I think Morales, a fight between Morales and Valero, and a fight between Valero and Barrera. Those fights would remind me of Pacquiao, the prime Pacquiao, the prime Pacquiao versus Morales and Barrera. I'm gonna go with Valero, man. I'm gonna go with Valero against Morales because again, I think the pressure, I think the power, I think the volume would kind of wear down Morales, sort of like it did against Pacquiao. And I think Morales was slower than Valero. I don't think he was explosive as Valero. And I'm gonna go with Valero. And Barrera, another guy, he was a good technical fighter, but he wasn't as gifted athletically as Valero. I don't think he hit as hard. I think Valero could have probably worn down Barrera as well. So Morales wasn't invincible, guys. I mean, you could argue, but Prince Nassim Hamed. Well, Nassim only fought at 126, so he didn't fight in Valero's weight. So we have Valero beating Morales, and we have him beating Barrera as well. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go down the list, and I'm gonna tell you how I had it, and you guys tell me if you agree or you disagree. You guys think that Valero beats Marquez? Yes or no? Think Valero beats Marquez. Anyone got an opinion in the chat? Anyone else? Anyone else agree with me? Just JC, you the only one that's gonna partake in this? No one else has an opinion? Anyone agree? Okay, so no one. So everyone says no. So that's gonna be a no. Okay, so that's one disagreement you guys have with me. Close fight though. Okay. Oh, Aaron Daly says okay, but most people say no. Okay, Aaron, did you just sign up recently? I didn't see you in there. Thank you for signing up. I didn't see you in there as a member. That's awesome that you're a member. That's great. Thank you so much for signing up. See how great this membership is now? Anyone wants a video get made, it gets made. Any topic, boom. All right. Valero versus De La Hoya. Yes or no? I say he beats De La Hoya. What do you guys think? What's your opinion? Does he beat De La Hoya? Yes or no? Okay, that's a yes. All right. Fernando says no. Anyone else? We need someone to break the tie. We have a tie. We have a tie break? Yeah, we have a tie break. CN says yes. Okay. Castillo. Does Valero beat Castillo? Yes or no? How many people are gonna go back and watch Valero versus DeMarco after watching this video? Castillo. Fernando says yes. Okay, that's the tie break. So he beats Castillo. Okay. Does he beat Corrales? He beats Corrales, guys? Yes or no? No? We need a tie break. All right, anyone else? Anyone else? Where we need a tie break. Someone come in with a tie break. CN, what do you think? Does he beat Corrales? Yes or no? Does he beat Corrales? Anybody? Okay, we got the tie break on that. All right. Pacquiao. This is an interesting one. Does he beat Pacquiao? Keep in mind, guys, Pacquiao had some defensive liabilities. I don't want to sway anyone's opinion, but does he beat Pacquiao? No? Does he beat Pacquiao? Remember, Marquez had Pacquiao walking into a right hand that ended him. Does he beat Pacquiao? Does he beat Pacquiao? Yes or no? We got two no's. Okay, so that's a no. Does anyone think this is going to be an interesting one? Does anyone thinks he beats Mayweather? Yes or no? Nope. Okay. Anyone else? Anyone else? Does he beat Mayweather? Yes or no? Okay. Got that one. I already know the answer to this one. Does he beat Whitaker? Yes or no? Does he beat Whitaker? Nope. So we got a no against Whitaker. Does he beat... Oh, wow. Valero says he cased Pacquiao late. Okay. Does he beat Crawford? We need at least three opinions here, like three judges. in the chat. Does he beat Crawford? Anyone else? Does he beat Crawford? Yes or no? Yes. Meredith says no. Well, we have two yeses here, though. Can someone else break the? We got. Yep. All right. Wow. 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 So people agree with the Crawford victory. Okay, these next two are going to be very interesting. Does he beat Morales? I couldn't believe. I apologize to Morales and Barrera fans. I can't believe I forgot those two guys. Definitely Morales. Morales is a legend. I'm so sorry that I forgot his name. I didn't forget his name, but I forgot his name to include him in this list of fighters. Does he beat Morales? Yes or no, guys? JC, is that a yes? Anyone else? Okay. Anyone else? Okay. Archie the Cat. Wow, beautiful. Yes. JC, you're in the minority here, brother. Okay. Does he beat Barrera? Yes or no? Does he beat Barrera? Yes or no? JC is hilarious. He said he heard Morales beat him up in sparring. I'm gonna fact check that. I'm gonna fact check that. Definitely beats Barrera. Okay. He definitely beats Barrera, but he don't beat Morales. And Barrera and Morales have wars. Okay. I'm not saying you're not serious, Jay. I'll look it up. The sparring video against Morales is on YouTube. Valero lands some big shots. CN got you there, JC. You grew up in Tijuana and you box. Hey, I respect you, bro. I'm not dissing you, bro. No one's opinion gets disrespected on here except for Jason's, because Jason says crazy shit. Jason says like friggin'. I'm not gonna go into the shit Jason says. I don't want to turn this into a different video, but okay. I've never been to Tijuana, so I'm not gonna argue with you. Once again, does he beat Barrera? What's the consensus on that? Yes or no? Does he beat Barrera, guys? Yes or no? Yes, he beats him. Okay. So, we have 10 fighters here. 10 hypothetical matchups. We have Marquez. You guys said Marquez wins. I said that. So, my record, he's 8-2. You guys have him 1, 2, 3, 4. You guys have him 6-4 against those 10 great lightweights, or very good lightweights. I'm going to say they're great lightweights. And I have him 8-2. I haven't beaten Marquez. You guys disagree. I haven't beaten De La Hoya. You guys agree. I haven't beaten Castillo. You guys agree. I haven't beaten Corrales. You guys agree. I have him beating Pacquiao. You guys disagree. I have him beating Mayweather. You guys agree. Oh, I have him losing to Mayweather. I'm sorry. You guys agree. I have him losing to Whitaker. You guys agree. I have him beating Crawford. You guys agree. I have him beating Morales. You guys agree. I have him beating Barrera. You guys agree. So let's look about it. Let's think about this. Let's think about this, guys. So judging by this, we have him beating six out of the top 10 lightweights of pretty much our era. Pretty much our era, or pretty close to our era, because I'm sure all of you guys were watching boxing when all those, was everyone watching boxing when all those guys mentioned fought? I'm sure you were. I'm sure you were. So even if he goes 6-4 against those guys, okay, I guess we can say Valero was legit. He would have been, and even the even in the fights that you guys had him losing, you guys think they would have been competitive, right? So he definitely would have been a force. Gotta shut this phone off, man. He would have been a force. He definitely would have been a force. So I don't know, man. That's a pretty interesting debate we had here today, guys. I think this was a good video. This is a good topic, man. Thank you so much, Charlie, for coming up with this topic, man. I appreciate it. Definitely appreciate it. And Charlie, who's a premium member, he put a video topic out there, and he got his video made. So I urge everyone in the chat who's been following this channel, okay, you sign up for $1.99 a month, and you can get any video you made on any topic you want. Not only that, what else you'll be able to do is if you want to do a live video with me on a topic and you want to debate me or you want to have a discussion with me about that specific topic, all you got to do is sign up for the premium membership. Click that link in the description box, and you can get a live debate with me anytime. So if any of you guys, wanted to have a debate, I'll give you my email address. I'm going to put my email address here in the chat, and you guys can email me if you want me to make a video for you or you want to be on a live discussion debate with me. So you guys can take that down. Anyone in the chat, feel free to email me, and we can do fantasy matchups. We can do anything, but please join please become a member. Maybe you were sleeping. Hey Beebs, what happened to you? Age 10 years, holy shit. Maybe you were sleeping. I don't know. We're not going to get into that. I did just wake up and I didn't shave, so we'll see what happened. Next stream, you should dedicate it on how Fury cheated. We're not going to go there. We've done enough Fury videos. So we're not going to get into that. We're not going to get into that. Jesse Perez was saying, I was thinking, Jesse, sign up, man. It's only $2. It's only $2 a month, bro. It's only $2 a month. Anyone can sign up for the membership. Click the link in the description box, and you can request any video that you want. Request any video that you want, and you could request a live debate anytime you want. Anytime you want. Mr. Marquez, why don't you sign up, man? We could do live debates anytime you want, bro. It's only $2. You got that? No, I was never an LDBC affiliate. Never was. I'm mad at you, Libido. She's telling me I aged 10 years in one. How can I age 10 years in one day, bro? That don't make no sense. On freaking Sunday, you tell me I look like I'm 35, and now you tell me I aged 10 years. How does that happen, bro? Yeah, I just woke up, though. I just woke up. And I didn't shave, and I didn't even wash my face yet, man. I got to wash my face. I just woke up and did this. I got to wash my face. Yeah, anyone can sign up. I know, bro. I know. I'm a little vain. I'm a little vain about my appearance, though, man. I turned 50 this year, so I'm a little vain about my appearance, man. I don't want to get old, man. You know how it is. I know you're kidding. $2 a month. So Brian paid for what, 10 years of my subscription. Yeah, it's funny. So guys, please, I know we're going through this time with the coronavirus, but think about it. We all got a lot of time on our hands, right? And these videos help us get through a lot of the boredom, a lot of the stress, a lot of the pain and anguish that we're going through right now. And it's only $2, man. $2 a month, you can get videos made. This is basically going to be like boxing Netflix. That's what this is going to be. You can choose, and on top of that, you can come on this show live, and we can do debates. We can have a video conference live. You'll have the ability to do that at any time. So I think for $2 a month, $24 a year, I think it's worth it, man. I think it's really worth it. You guys can have videos all day. All right, guys. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it. Make sure you want to do 135 tournament. Okay, so you got to email me. Well, we kind of already did that. Well, okay, yeah. All right. So you got to email me, right, with all the fighters that you want in it, and I'll do the and then I'll do the bracket. Then I'll do the bracket, and then I can do the then we can do the tournament. But if we do that tournament, right? Anyway, if we do that tournament, Burgess, you should come on with me, and we can each break down the fight. We can each break down the fights. And do you think I should do that all in one video, or actually, you know what? Eric and I can do the 135 tournament. We'll do that on the we can do that on the show. Like we did, like when the heavyweight tournament's over, we'll do the 135 tournament. How's that? That makes sense. Because that'll give us more material for the show. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to take. I mean, we could still do videos and stuff. You can still make video requests, but how about we save that one for the show, like we're doing with the heavyweight? That way, it could be me, Eric, and it can be and you can maybe you can be the guest judge if you want. So just let me know what you want to do on that. But yeah, we can save that for the show, because we need material for the Sunday podcast, so we can do that. All right, guys. Thank you so much, man. Appreciate it. Like I said, sign up, join up here, become a member. It's only $2 a month. That's nothing, bro. $2 a month, less than ESPN Plus, less than DAZN, and you have unlimited content, man. And you can get anything made you want. All right, man. Appreciate that. Talk to y'all soon. Have a great day. Peace out, and make sure you check out the Ringside Reporter podcast. 7 p.m. Eastern time every Sunday. And stay safe, everybody. Have a great day. Peace out.